In the news tonight, police called in to quell a brawl at the Freddy Miller Polyclinic at the Glebe. Efforts are being made to get more self-employed people to pay national insurance. A renewed call to plant 1 million trees across the island. And in sports, Barbados lose their third in a row at the Netball World Youth Cup.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you so much for tuning in. We begin with this story. Another incident at a local medical facility involving individuals seeking treatment and nursing staff. Police had to be called into the Freddy Miller Polyclinic at the Glebe in St. George today. CBC understands it involved people awaiting health care who were banging on a door while nurses were engaged in a meeting. This action apparently led to the nurses locking themselves in a room. General Secretary of the National Union of Public Workers, Richard Green, gave CBC News details on the incident.
An incident where nurses were having a briefing meeting and parents, alleged parents of persons, of patients, violently approached the door and started banging on the door of the room where the nurses were congregating to have a briefing meeting. Subsequently, it required the action of the security, and then the police were forced to respond to the Glebe Polyclinic here to bring some order.
Well, just yesterday, the Barbados Nurses Association condemned the alleged assault of a nurse on duty at the Randall Phillips Polyclinic in Oistins, reportedly by a parent during a heated dispute over a child's vaccination. The General Secretary says increasing acts of violence and disrespect of healthcare workers is unacceptable and must come to an end.
Our approach prior to law enforcement will be very much similar to what we do as an organization in advising the public and letting the public know. Just in industrial relations, there are ways and areas for recourse, that the first response is not one of taking action on your own. That if you are dissatisfied with or aggrieved by the quality of service that you have received in the public health system, that there's a procedure that you should follow to have some redress, but not you as an individual take action against a public health worker that is violent or even disrespectful.
Government continues to boost its efforts to get more self-employed people to contribute to the National Insurance Scheme. Today, the National Insurance and Social Security Service launched a self-employed unit at the Radley Court Centre, Upper Culmarock in St. Michael. The space cements the focus on self-employed individuals, and it was opened by Minister of Labour, Social Security and the Third Sector, as we hear from Anesta Henry.
The work of this self-employed unit at the Radley Court Centre, Upper Culmarock, St. Michael, is about empowerment, accessibility and protection. Established with a full cadre of staff, the unit ensures no worker is left behind in the social security system. It is the beginning of a new journey for the National Insurance Social Security Scheme and every self-employed person who lives and works in Barbados.
All the scheme needs to do to make sure that there's a level of viability and that you can get benefits from your earnings is that in a particular year you have contributed not less than $1,200. And we say not less than $1,200 not because we want persons wanting to contribute $1,200. Remember that your pension is going to be dependent on your level of contribution.
Self-employed individuals can pay contributions daily, weekly, monthly, or annually. The $1,200 minimum contribution must be paid by January 15th, and authorities are working on making it possible for people to pay their contributions online.
By next year, 2026, we expect that along with I think there were 8 benefits that were shown on the screen, employment injury will be added. I spoke to that very specifically and directly when I spoke to the country in Parliament. And so the matter of employment injury will also be part of the benefit system.
And an individual can now be registered as employed as well as self-employed.
Your employment income may take you to a point. You may want to reach the maximum in terms of contributions. You are now able to add your self-employed earnings to your employment earnings.
Chief Executive Officer of the NIS, Kim Tudor, says self-employed people stand to benefit making contributions to the scheme in times of illness, maternity, or retirement. When income is interrupted and they're left without protection every worker deserves.
So what we did to strengthen the unit beyond the office-based staff, the NIS has introduced a cadre of national insurance field officers, and these persons will lead our community engagement. They are the face of NIS in communities across the island, guiding self-employed persons through registration, answering questions, and ensuring that protection is accessible and straightforward.
Research shows less than 15% of self-employed people contribute to the scheme. Onesta Henry, CBC News.
Investigations are ongoing in relation to some people coming to the island to work on CARICOM skills certificates but do not have the qualifications they say they do. And according to Minister of Home Affairs and Information Wilfred Abrams, some of these people engaging in this fraudulent act could even be arrested. He made the declaration while addressing the Barbados Labour Party's Christchurch East and South Joint Branch meeting, where he said the CARICOM skills certificate will no longer be necessary requirement as part of the new free movement regime for 4 CARICOM states.
National certification, you have people engaged in fraud in relation to that as well. You have people who find themselves in Barbados who enter into programs who get a skilled national certification that, quite frankly, some of them people get arrested. We have our eye on some of you, right? Some fraudulent certifications are going on. We're taking away that. You don't got to defraud anybody. If you got a clean character, you come here to try to improve yourself, to try to improve Barbados, come because we are underpopulated.
Well, Minister Abrams says there has not been an extraordinary amount of CARICOM nationals rushing to Barbados.
Pretty much right now as it stands, artists and pretty much right now as it stands, if you have a marketable skill under the skilled nationals, you could come. We have not had the flood of persons taking over our country that people expect. We have not had it, and it pretty much exists now. What we are now saying is that in relation to Belize, Dominica, and St. Vincent, you don't even got to go through the skilled national registration.
Well, joining us live to give us a greater understanding of the issues as they relate to managed migration and the free movement of CARICOM nationals is Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Commichon. Welcome, Ambassador Commichon.
Thank you, Lisa.
Now, from the discussion going on around it, it still seems as though Barbadians are a bit apprehensive as to how this free movement will affect them. So what would be your message to them?
Well, Barbadians have absolutely no reason to be apprehensive. You know, when CARICOM commenced upon the single market and single economy way back in 2002, the whole idea was we recognized that we need to make our region one single domestic space where we can bring together our resources, where our people can move freely, so that we could be more competitive on the world scene. So we recognize that in this very competitive world, I mean, we have to be united. We have to make maximum use of our collective resources. So if you have people coming into your country that are coming for good reasons, that are coming to make a positive contribution, that's a benefit to you. You have nothing to be afraid where that is concerned. And likewise, if you can go, you can travel, you can look for life and career opportunities. That's also a benefit. What I need to reassure Barbadians about is that we have mechanisms in place to ensure that no bad actors take advantage of this scheme. So, for example, Under the CARICOM arrangements, every member state has the right to refuse entry to any person who is deemed to be a threat to the national security. In other words, any person with some kind of criminal background that is severe enough to be deemed a threat. Also, to refuse entry to any person who is likely to become a charge on the public purse, that is, likely to become a welfare case. So the whole idea is that you want a free movement regime that is wholesome, that people are coming for the right reasons, and they're coming to make a contribution to the society. And if that happens, then there's nothing, there's nothing really to be concerned about.
Now, you said that, and we've heard that people who come into Barbados under this new regime will have access to rights as though they were Barbadians. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because I've heard people asking, well, will they be able to vote and have those types of rights?
The rights that they will have, incoming nationals who decide to live in Barbados indefinitely and to work. And that's what the regime is about. The regime gives the nationals of these three countries, Belize, St. Vincent, Dominica, the right to come to Barbados to live indefinitely if they so desire, and to work without the need for a work permit. And the rights that they will get are limited to in education and healthcare. So the children, the students, will have access to primary and secondary, public primary and secondary education on the same terms as a citizen of Barbados. So whatever applies to a citizen of Barbados would apply to them. Similarly, with emergency and primary health care, they'll have access to those on the same terms as a citizen of Barbados. So those are the two basic rights, but other things, I mean, housing, I mean, they would be on their own. They would have to make their own arrangements with those kinds of things that are concerned. In relation to voting, well, I think we have separate rules and regulations for how a person qualifies to be a voter in Barbados. Any Commonwealth citizen that is here, I think the minimum limitation period is still 3 years. Earns the right to be a voter. So those that general voter scheme will still apply. So there will be nothing special in relation to this free movement regime.
People are concerned, we've heard concerns about people thinking, saying that there may be an influx of people from, other CARICOM countries coming into Barbados. But what are the types of possibilities and options for Barbadians to go over to, you said the four countries, Belize, Dominica, and St. Vincent. What about that?
Yeah, well, and that's how we have to look at it, Yes, some Vincentians, Belizeans, and Dominicans may very well use the new regime to come to Barbados, and we should be happy. We should be happy. These are our brothers and sisters, and if they come for the right reasons, all well and good. But by the same token, they are going to be rolling out the red carpet for Barbadians. When I say rolling out the red carpet, we are now creating this especially close and intimate relationship between these four countries. So, for example, after the 1st of October, a Barbadian will be able to travel to St. Vincent or Dominica with a one-way ticket. You won't need a two-way ticket, and especially if you intend to remain there indefinitely. In the case of Belize, you will still need the return ticket. There's special reasons applying to Belize. Once you get to that airport, you present yourself to the immigration, you're going to automatically be given indefinite stay. You'll be at the point of entry, you'll be granted indefinite stay. But if you decide that you want to exercise that right of indefinite stay to work or to live for a prolonged period, then you'll be expected to go through a registration process. In Barbados, the incoming national will register at the Ministry of Labor, Social Security, and the third sector. Once they intend to work or they intend to live indefinitely, and that registration is very important because that registration would then put them on track to get a national ID, to sign up to national insurance, to sign up to the BRA, so that they're in a position to really exercise the right to live in Barbados properly. And likewise, Barbadians going to those countries would be expected to, apply, to follow those kinds of procedures as well.
Understood. So very quick last question. Anything special being planned for next Wednesday, is it?
Next Wednesday, the 1st? Well, we are doing some checks to see what flights might be coming in, particularly from St. Vincent and Dominica next Wednesday. And once we confirm, we're going to plan a special reception for the very first CARICOM nationals who will be exercising those rights under this new regime.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Ambassador David Commichong talking to us about what can be expected once the new free movement regime comes into place on October 1st. Thank you very much, Ambassador. And coming up on Newsnight, a renewed call to support the planting of 1 million trees right here in Barbados. We'll tell you more. Climate change is real and impacting countries in the region, and a renewed call has been made for Barbadians to join the Ministry of the Environment and National Beautification and the Green and Blue Economy to reach the goal of planting more than 1 million trees across the island. The call from Minister of Environment, National Beautification, Green and Blue Economy, Adrian Ford, who wants to ensure the Barbadian landscape remains clean and green. He was speaking during this year's annual Arbor Day celebrations at the National Conservation Commission.
Come on board with this noble effort. Come on board with the drive. Let us understand that the iconic group, the Merry Men, had a vision for beautiful Barbados when they sang that song. Let us equally understand that Cheryl Hackett, in her sweet, beautiful voice, when she spoke about beautiful and on sport, she was speaking about 254 acres of the National Botanical Garden, the 242 acres that we are developing as well. Because unless we put beauty in the whole conversation about Barbados, it will be spoiled.
Minister Ford says they began the tree planting process in 2019 following a call from Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley to plant 1 million trees across the island. And Minister Ford gave kudos to all those who've joined the initiative thus far.
I am happy to report to the country today that since we started this tree planting, because there's an old saying that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one first step, a baby step, a nascent step. I want to say today that the journey to plant 1 million trees begins with just one tree at a time. So let us continue this journey, this trust, because Darwin will tell you that we have planted thus far over 600,000 trees.
Well, more than 700 young people have benefited from the International King's Trust program since 2016. Assistant Delivery Partner Manager, Station Sergeant Jamal Mahan, says the program, which targets 136 young people between the ages of 16 to 25 who are either not working, studying or self-employed, has an 80% positive output. He was speaking at the launch of the first half of the third cohort for 2025 at the Glebe Community Center.
We have a monitoring and evaluation component of this program. So 3 months after the young persons leave this program, we would contact them and find out if they're working, studying or self-employed. 6 months after, we would call them. Then a year after, we would call them. And this is how we monitor if the young persons have done something positive with their life. And they could tell you with this program, we have about 10 persons who ended up joining the Barbados Police Service from this program. So some persons join different fields. Persons may join the hotel sector, person join the police service. We heard some persons say they want to be prison officers. So whatever goal, whatever career they're looking at, we try to assist them.
Participant Ashara Squires says she joined the program for personal development.
I think programs like these are important because it will put you at a better advantage getting a job and getting more qualifications.
Ownership in a community quiets violence. It's a view shared by Governor of the Central Bank of Barbados, Dr. Kevin Greenidge, as he addressed the Tyrese Caesar Foundation's charity dinner at the Mahogany Ridge restaurant at the weekend. In a wide-ranging address, Dr. Greenidge urged Barbadians to take ownership and build an infrastructure for peace to thrive within their communities.
Micro savings, micro insurance, and what we call seed funding for community enterprises. And that, as I feel, will help change the conversation about where guys have ideas, but they haven't known where to start to do their business. A barber, for example, with a small loan and a digital payment system that is free can now save some money to hire some person to grow the community. A fisherman with a small micro insurance can return quickly to the oceans after natural disaster and get going.
The finance official said when people, communities and policies are all pulling in the same direction, a harmonious state is created, thus sucking the oxygen from violence.
From a central bank perspective, what we look at is a stable financial environment, one that is inclusive, not exclusive, one that helps to reduce anxiety, one that gives options and choices, and one that builds trust.
The Barbados Museum and Historical Society is hosting an exhibition to commemorate the 70th anniversary of Hurricane Janet. It is educating Barbadians on the impact of the hurricane, which caught citizens by surprise because they had very little warning before it hit. Anesta Henry tells us the exhibition is one of the museum's community engagement initiatives.
Barbadians are being given an opportunity to learn more about the lasting impact Hurricane Janet, which landed on September 22, 1955, had on the island. The Barbados Museum and the Historical Society is making this possible through an exhibition. The museum's education and community outreach officer, Kay Hall, says the display highlights how Hurricane Janet shaped Barbados' future.
After the hurricane, because it was very, very apparent how vulnerable we had been at the hurricane's approach, there were changes to our healthcare system, there were changes to our social systems, there were changes to our infrastructure and building code, all because of this one hurricane.
Many people got very sick after Hurricane Janet.
There were bouts of disease and so on. Lots of people used what we would call pit latrines. The pit latrines were flooded. The water became contaminated. There was a quite heavy death toll after the hurricane, which had nothing to do with those souls who were lost at the hurricane.
The exhibition features individuals who lived through the storm, sharing their memories on the 1955 event. There is also a theatrical presentation of students reenacting how Barbadians reacted to Hurricane Janet. An outdoor exhibit is there as well, in keeping with the fact that a hurricane is very much an outdoor climate-influenced event.
It is really for us to encourage Barbadians to engage with that part of our history and to think about how we need to prepare, how we need to be a part of that sustainable effort and sustainable living in Barbados to make sure we're not just ready for the next hurricane, but also moving forward and doing our part to keep Barbados as a place that we want to continue to love and live in.
The Department of Emergency Management played a key role in the launch of the exhibition.
Hurricane Janet back in 1955. It is a constant reminder that hurricane preparedness is essential for us in Barbados. Whether or not we endure the full strength of a hurricane or a tropical storm or even a tropical depression, it is important that Bajans take preparedness seriously.
The exhibition will be up for the rest of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season at the Barbados Museum and the Historical Society, before traveling on to the DEM and eventually the National Library Service. Anesta Henry, CBC News.
Well, following requests from owners of vacation property rentals, government is prepared to pause the tourism accommodation bill. That's according to Minister of Tourism Ian Gooding-Edgell in a statement issued just moments ago. He says the call for further dialogue is a reasonable one, and the Tourism Ministry will convene another public meeting to clarify any misunderstanding and answer any questions. The details regarding that meeting will be announced in due course.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Sports time now. Damien Best joins us live in studio with the details. Good evening, Damien.
Yeah, good evening to you, Lisa. Good evening to all viewers and listeners. Well, Barbados remain winless at the Netball World Youth Cup in Gibraltar. The Young Gems lost by 25 goals to Trinidad and Tobago this afternoon, 58-33. The scores were even after the first quarter at 11 apiece, but TNT pulled away in the second to lead 25-19. They were still out front in the third, 41-30, before wrapping up the victory. Here are some highlights.
A lot of the time in those opening minutes in the TNT previous game against Malawi, defence with the heads down, not really seeing the sight in the ball early, so definitely done the homework, haven't they?
This time it was Roberts who almost got a piece of it, and there will be obstruction though against Roberts on this occasion. And see another one of these medium range shots from Walrond, and
Roy goes again. Oh, off the post, lucky. Bramble takes that one. Keep them away from the line of the ball, and they've done more of that, and they've opened up opportunity, and definitely we've witnessed two options there for the ball carrier, which wasn't there in that previous match. The real pressure of the circle pairing, but they let them both get back in there.
And really bunched up all over on the far side as we look at it. And
so Brewster at wing attack doing all she can to service the two shooters. That's probably due to the pressure that's been put on them against Trinidad and Tobago and the great footwork positioning of Gill and Roberts, the defence pairing.
Yeah, wins the hustle battle there, and as we approach the final minute or so, it's another one for Bramble.
Gill, some comments from the bench there in the hope that she scores. She does, to the delight of the Trinidad and Tobago bench. So there we go. That is a 58-33 scoreline in favour of Trinidad and Tobago.
The Barbados women's senior footballers are back home after winning the Windward Islands Football Association Women's Tournament. CBC's Anne Margaret Boyce reports on their arrival.
The mood was a mixture of pride and excitement. Family and close friends were eagerly waiting, some with their smartphones in hand, ready to capture the arrival of the Barbados senior women's national team at the Grantley Adams International Airport, while others had proud smiles. Despite their impressive performance on the regional stage, the welcome was a stark contrast to the celebrations this championship-winning team deserves. Only a small crowd gathered to honor their heroes. But defeating St. Lucia 2-1 in Saturday's final was a moment of triumph for the team and for women's football in Barbados.
This is a big deal. The ladies, it shows that the ladies have what it takes to bring home the bacon, and we just need to make sure that they're continuously engaged, because I think that was one of the major disadvantages, not having like constant outlets to play. Because you say the more you get the practice, the more you're on the field, the more you play the games, it becomes a lot easier when you get to the bigger stage, right? So it's a beginning.
Daphne Watson-James was one of the standout players for Barbados, trusted in a new position where she excelled brilliantly.
It was a new position, so I was a bit nervous to play centre-back because it's not my dominant position, because I normally play midfield. But I just prayed and I just kept my head focused. I just wanted to be consistent in how I perform, and I think I kept up that consistency, so I'm just glad I was able to do the best for my team.
However, a new star was born in Taryn Sutherland, who scored the winner in the final.
It was amazing, honestly. I see the play coming together and the connect balls, and I saw the space behind and I went through. My first touch was a little far, but when I saw the goal bar empty, I just hit it and it felt amazing. It felt amazing.
What does it mean to score the winner for your team, Barbados?
It means so much to me. It means a lot, honestly, because I thought my last 2 matches were a little mediocre, but I come out to play in that finals and I'm happy that I get to come out and play.
The next assignment for the Lady Tridents is the CONCACAF W qualifying tournament. Barbados is drawn in Group F and will open their campaign against Trinidad and Tobago on November 30th, before battling against Honduras and El Salvador. And Mark Goodridge Boyce, CBC Sports.
The Business Report, brought to you by the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, a department of the Ministry of Youth and Community Empowerment, supporting young entrepreneurs from idea to enterprise.
The 4-month Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme's business training program has been deemed a success. A diverse range of modules and workshops were offered with a strong focus on personal development, business management, and setting the foundation for participants to effectively run and manage their own businesses. Trevor Thorpe has those details.
Is focused on personal.
Yes, Program Coordinator and Youth Enterprise Officer Claire Innes described the business training program as a deep dive into the world of business and an effort to get the cohort started. She said it was an all-encompassing exercise.
There's personal development, there's the business management aspect. It also focuses on you as an individual entrepreneur, but also it looks at you in a teamwork setting. And so what we had on Saturday, the Business Labs team building, was to help them to gel in groups.
The coordinator said business labs are an integral part of the YES curriculum. She also said interest is high and they are encouraged by the program's results.
The outcomes that we were hoping for and which were achieved was that really, we really wanted them to be able to gel together. In business labs, you get together in groups. This is really rubber hits the road. So all that you would have learned previously is this is now the time where you're going to put it into practice. And so they divide themselves up into teams. They come up with a business idea. That business idea is rigorously pulled apart, examined. You're critically analyzing whether this is something that is going to be viable, is going to be feasible, is it going to be accepted by the Barbadian public? And then you take it to market. So this is why I say this is where the rubber meets the road.
Participant and founder of Paris Couture and Couture Fit, Charlotte Nightingale, had high praise for the initiative. She said it was challenging and taught her a lot.
I would encourage individuals to join the YES program, especially after completing today's activity, because it shows you how to work in togetherness. And we all know being an entrepreneur, you have to work together with your business, staff, customers.
Another participant, Jonelle Prescott, admitted she is still in the preparation stage and months away from opening the doors to her enterprise, Alegria, a business to help develop literacy and life skills in young people. She said, however, the experience and knowledge gained from the program were beyond her expectations.
Instead of exercising the body, we exercise the mind. And we really learned a lot of things to help with team building and general personality development too, and having the skills to be able to work with other persons. Because you work with other people at work and in every aspect of life. So one of the big takeaways for me was the stick. That was one of our activities. And we had balloons and, things that seemed simple but that required real collaboration and teamwork. And I love how Higher Heights put it together. It's something that any business should consider to plug in Higher Heights and let their team development really go to the next level.
The 4-month YES Business Training Program is an annual affair. Trevor Thorpe for the YES Business Report.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and Barbados Consul General to New York will be working harder to increase the quantity of Barbadian products throughout the diaspora. Senior Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Carrie Simmons, shared the information during a town hall meeting for Barbadians in New York.
I can tell you off the cuff that there are some challenges that some of our major producers have, and I'm not here to advertise anybody's product, but I can say to you that as they talk to me as Minister of Foreign Trade, I realize that we do need to do even more to try to facilitate Barbadian businesses as they try to penetrate and function competitively in this United States market.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Damien is back now with his second half in sports. Damien, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lisa. Well, one of the proudest moments in Barbados sporting history happened on September 23rd in the year 2000, when competing at our 9th Olympic Games, this country finally medaled as a nation. Earlier in 1960, Jim Wedderburn won a bronze as part of the West Indies Federation's 1600-meter relay team. But it wasn't until 40 years later that OBA earned Barbados' first individual medal. CBC's Mark Seal looks back.
On this day, 25 years ago, legendary Barbados sprinter Obadele Thompson won this country's only Olympic medal to date, a bronze in the men's 100 meters at the Sydney Olympiad. Thompson was third in 10.04 seconds, behind the winner, Maurice Green of the United States, in 9.87, and also Atto Bolden of Trinidad and Tobago, second in 9.99.
Thompson steady in 4. Off, good start for Zachary. Dwayne Chambers gets up well. Atto Bolden gets up well. Maurice Green running well. Obadele Thompson has work to do. Green powers to take command. Green is winning. Bolden second. 9.88. Maurice Green with the victory.
Speaking with CBC Sports on this 25th anniversary of the historic moment, Thompson noted his primary aim was to win the gold medal. But ultimately, it was to put Barbados on the world map.
I wanted to hear the anthem, to be very honest. But that is something that I consciously would go into stadiums at championships, particularly when I was in good shape. I wanted people to know at the end of these 10 seconds or 9 seconds, whatever it is, what Barbados was, who we were, make them curious about us. And I took that as it's a big deal to represent Barbados, you know. So I don't have the flag here, but, you know, it's a big deal to me. It's something that even now that I'm in administration with the BOA, I want to hear our anthem. I want to see our flag go up, and above all others. You know, that is a passion that I have. It will never leave me. I tell people, you know, my father's from Guyana. My mother's from Bermuda. I was born in Barbados. There's a reason why I was born there. And I take it very seriously, being a Bajan and representing us.
One of the few Barbadians in Sydney was the then president of the Barbados Olympic Association, Steve Stout. He says after years of wishing, hoping, planning, and managing the administrative process, it was an emotional occasion for him.
Erskine Simmons and I went to meet him in the Games Village. I was unable to talk. I was so emotional, and again, Oba will probably remember that moment where I could only hug him. I couldn't say anything. I was very, very emotional. So for me, it has been, I think, the pinnacle of my long career in Olympic sport administration.
President of the Athletics Association of Barbados, Noah Lynch, says Oba's medal still has enormous significance 25 years later. Who was also the president of the then Amateur Athletics Association back in 2000, is hopeful the legacy of the Sydney Olympic bronze medal will inspire today's athletes in all sports.
The Sydney experience was an experience I'll never forget. I mean, here was an opportunity that this man put Barbados on the map. Barbadians, I think, from all walks of life were interested in what he was doing, but I think it also changed the course of athletics and sports. But it also sent a message to Barbadians about what they could do on the world stage. I don't believe that Obadele's medal was only about athletics. It was about telling someone that you could come from this very small jurisdiction, this rock somewhere in the Atlantic, in the Caribbean Sea, whatever, and that you could be the world's best or near the world's best at something. And I think that's what has made all the difference.
Oba is also hopeful that future athletes will give Barbadians the joy of one day hearing the national anthem at an Olympiad.
There's no way that I could honestly say that Barbados doesn't have that type of talent, because I've raced. I remember what it's like to run against the best in the world, to train with the best in the world, and just holistically looking at everything. I've always believed that Barbados, we have that. Maybe not in the numbers that Jamaica or Trinidad may have, but we definitely have it. And so, you know, I'm still very hopeful that the enduring legacy, the enduring motivation and inspiration from seeing me do it, and then, you know, there have been others who come along in athletics and done great things, like, you know, Ryan Brockett winning Worlds in 2009, Sade most recently. My hope is that other people look to this and invest heavily in us being able to do it again.
The next opportunity for Barbadian to stand on the medal podium is at LA 28. Mark Seal, CBC Sports.